welcome to Seen Through Glass. Now before I jump into the Abarth for the main segment of this video, I wanted to talk about hats. A few of you have noticed in the last few videos I've been wearing some STG branded hats, and that is because I'm a YouTuber, and as a YouTuber I have to start some kind of clothing range at some point. Whilst this isn't quite clothing, it's hats. Hats are essential to my life. As a bald man, I can't survive without a hat. So, as you may have seen, I've got an STG branded beanie that I'm wearing right now and an STG branded baseball cap, and these will be available for you guys to buy in the build up to Christmas. I'm not doing this to compete with H&M. I don't see this as necessarily a long-term strategy, but I love hats. I wear hats all the time. I suddenly realized I don't really have any proper STG hats apart from one that I made about 2 years ago and was falling apart. So it was much for me to have hats to wear as for you guys to also have Seen Through Glass hats to wear. So stay tuned. Make sure you follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and of course here on YouTube, and more information will come later this week on where you can buy these hats. Right, let's jump into the Abarth and have a chat. It's surprisingly warm today. Considering it's now December, things have suddenly heated up. Which is good, because you probably remember there's no aircon in here. Well, actually, that's not been an issue at all, because the heater in here is really good. Now, going for a drive frustratingly means I need to navigate over some speed bumps to leave the park. One thing I've learned over the last few weeks with this car is speed bumps are my worst enemy. So it's been a couple of weeks since I revealed or I announced the Abarth 695 Biposto Record Edition as my new daily, and I am very close. In fact, in this video, it's quite likely that I will tick over the 1,000 mile mark on the mileometer. I have been using this car every single day, and whilst that may not be a surprise because it's a daily, using a car this bare and what some might call hardcore could be a surprise. But all I can say, all I can report back is I am loving this little thing. I am completely obsessed. I am so happy. I do not regret my decision for 1 second. However, there are obviously some sort of, I don't even know if you'd call them downsides, but some realizations that I've made over the past 2 weeks that are things that I now kind of want to refine or change. So first things first, I'll admit it, I need a radio. I think when I launched the car, lots of you were like, what the hell are you doing buying a daily that has no radio? And to be completely clear and honest with you guys, when I was originally considering this car, when I was in the dealership, I of course noticed that there was no radio. But the salesman very quickly told me that you can, of course, retrofit a sound system into these cars. It's got all the slots necessary. Up here on the dashboard is exactly where you can put a unit. You've got the holes for the tweeters up the front, and then there are some pretty clever solutions that people have been doing in terms of placing subwoofers and extra speakers. So I was always going to put a radio in this car. I didn't think it would be that urgent. I was like, it'll be fine. Like, I'll just do it whenever I kind of am ready. But after 2 weeks, I need a radio. I've been driving around with my iPhone plugged into a little Bluetooth speaker, which has just about got me by. But considering how much I use this car, I like to listen to music when I drive, and therefore that is one thing which will be changing on this car very, very soon. So I'm looking to a few different options at the moment, trying to get some clever people to do some clever things to put a great sound system into the 695. The second thing is paint protection film. So after revealing the 695, my follow-up video was a video of the car being detailed by Stuart F1 Wax. At the time, he applied like a sort of ceramic coating, which is kind of like the next best thing to paint protection film. But we didn't quite have time to apply paint protection film, and I wasn't really sure if I wanted it. But considering that I picked up this car heading into the depths of winter, I've decided I definitely need it. I am too anal and too protective over this paint, which is Ferrari paint. Yes, I'm going to mention it every single video I make about this car. And so I drive everywhere, terrified of stone chips and bird poo and people scratching it. So later this week, the car will be headed back to Dub Customs, who are now going to apply paint protection film over Stu F1 Wax Incredible Work. So the car will be protected, stain-proof, scratch-proof film. I cannot wait. I think it's going to make me a much more calmer and relaxed person. Apart from those two things, there are a couple of other very minor sort of modifications which I'm going to be making, which you probably won't even notice, but I will reveal in a week or so's time once they are done. But apart from that, there's nothing else I want to touch. As I say, I have completely fallen in love with this car, which is, I guess, how it should be when you're buying a car. The majority of the 1,000 miles that I've completed so far have taken place poodling around in London. This is my daily. I live in London, and that's where I've been using the car, and it's kind of where I thought the car would be at its worst, if I'm honest. Obviously, a sort of stripped out hardcore car like this, I was like, oh, it's going to be a nightmare driving around London, but it performs at its best here, because on the motorway, whilst it is incredibly planted and you can hit speeds that you think a gust of wind would blow it off the road and it's totally fine, it's the bumps. The bumps on the motorways can be terrifying. I touched on it already. The suspension in this car is incredibly hard. I don't really care because I like stupid cars and cars that do silly things and kind of makes me laugh. But I've had passengers in this car and I've experienced it myself. This suspension can be bone shattering. It's just solid. I mean, even when you're in normal mode, you don't have to be in sport mode, you hit certain bumps and it's just whack, a big thud, and you're convinced you've broken suspension or something, if not your back. So here in London, I've absolutely been loving this little thing. It makes the silliest noises. It is, as I say, so quick, so small. I don't think I've ever owned a car this small. The only other sort of hatchback I owned an S3, an Audi S3, a 2002 Audi S3. And that was like a small hatchback. And then my first ever car was a Volkswagen Golf Mark 4 1.4 litre. But this is smaller than both of those. So it is really fun for me personally to have a little car in London that I can nip in and out and go down little alleyways and park so easily. But then, as I say, let's not forget, this car is all about driving. As amazingly usable, surprisingly usable as it has become, it is about the performance and the driving. And one little button, Sport, just down there, turns this, what is already quite a pocket rocket, into an insane nuclear missile. Torque in this little car. Oh, and so much grunt, and people look because you know they can hear the bark from miles. That's what I think this car would talk like a dog. It is just so much fun just to throw around these little streets. It picks up speed so quickly. I literally cannot wait to track this thing. It wheel spins. It wheel spins everywhere. Oh, it's just so hilarious. And unfortunately, you cannot turn traction control fully off in this car. Decision that Fiat made, obviously, when producing it. You can reduce it slightly, but you can't turn it off. But to be honest, front-wheel drive car, I'm not sitting here going, oh, I wish I could turn traction off. As I say, in these conditions, these kind of grimy, greasy, wintry conditions, it spins its front wheels enough already. I don't think I wanted to do it anymore. I wouldn't go anywhere. And as I say, it just sounds so awesome. You get this massive turbo whoosh and whistle everywhere you go, and then this really aggressive terrier-like bark, as I was saying. And people look everywhere. I guarantee you, it is so much louder outside the car than in. I don't know why, considering the lack of sound dampening, why it's not louder inside, but it just for some reason doesn't cross over. So as I say, later this week the car is off to Dub to get the paint protection film fitted and a few other tiny tweaks, and then hopefully in the next few weeks a radio will be getting fitted, because I really want it done before Christmas. I have a long drive home at Christmas and I kind of want a radio for it. But I really am absolutely loving this car. It is so much fun. I'm so pleased with my choice, and very excitingly, this Sunday will be the first episode of the My Next Car series. I did do a video a few weeks ago with Lenny talking about the fact that there would be a full series coming on the Jaguar F-Type replacement, and that is kick-starting this Sunday. So many conversations, many adventures to be had to try and work out what my next car will be, but this Abarth is going nowhere. I know lots of you are like, oh, he's going to sell it in a couple of weeks. Nope. It is sticking around, and I cannot wait to run this alongside whatever I end up replacing the F-Type with. I hope you guys have enjoyed this kind of like small update on the Abarth. Give it a thumbs up if you have, and make sure you're following me on Twitter, Instagram, and obviously here on YouTube for updates regarding the STG hats that will be launched later this week.